Hello students, welcome to the Writing with Definitions workshop. This workshop will be about 30 minutes long and you'll need to have a pen and paper in order to participate. So let's get started. Before we begin the workshop, I wanted to make you aware of how often we use definitions in our everyday lives. Every day we are bombarded by new concepts, ideas, or phenomena that need to be defined. The screen here represents just a few that came to my mind as I was creating this workshop. If you Googled any one of these topics, you would find writers like yourselves trying to define these terms so that we could all better understand them. I included the I'm a latchkey kid t-shirt because that was a term that was defined when I was growing up. When a lot of mothers like my mom were going back to work, children for the first time were going home by themselves. So they invented the term latchkey kid, and they used that term to define a group of kids like myself who learned how to come home from school and get themselves inside the door all on their own. So I wanted to make you aware of how we use definition quite a bit in our everyday lives. So for the goals of this workshop, by the end of the workshop, you'll be able to better understand what the term definition means as it's used in writing. We'll review the common features of a definition in writing and provide a couple of examples so that you'll see what these definitions look like in writing. And then, most importantly, you'll have the instructions and materials you need to create your own paragraph that includes a definition. So let's get started. For our purposes for this workshop, we're going to be defining definition as you see it here on the screen. So a definition is when you explain what an idea or term is or means so that your readers will understand it as they read your writing or your essay. And definitions have certain features. One is they categorize an idea into a larger group. They provide distinguishing qualities or characteristics to further explain the idea, and they provide examples. So I want you to pause for a moment on this screen and really review this information until you feel like you're starting to get an understanding of what definition means in writing and what are some of the key features. And when you feel like you have a pretty good understanding, come on back to the workshop. Okay, great. So now that you've had some time to look at the features of a definition paragraph, I wanted to show you an example. This example paragraph comes from Deirdre Sullivan's essay called Always Go to the Funeral. She wrote this for the NPR program This I Believe. This is only one small paragraph in a larger essay that she wrote about always going to the funeral. If you pause this screen and review her paragraph, you'll notice that I color-coded it to highlight how her paragraph is using or demonstrating the features of a definition paragraph that we were talking about on the previous screen. So pause this screen for a moment, read over her paragraph, and notice how her paragraph demonstrates the features of a definition paragraph. And when you're ready, come on back to the workshop. Okay, I want to give you another example of a definition paragraph. In a few minutes, I'm going to be asking you to use this same strategy to help you pre-write and think about a definition that you would like to write in a paragraph. I'm going to write a paragraph that defines bookworm. Now, the definition of bookworm is going to be my own. I didn't look it up on the computer. It's coming from my own personal experience and observations. I'm hoping that's what you'll be doing with your definitions as well. But sometimes you'll be asked to define a term for one of your classes in which you'll have to use books and outside sources. But in this case, I'm defining bookworm using my own personal observations and experiences. So my first step was to categorize a term. So a bookworm is a person who loves to read books. And then I sat down and I thought about, according to my own experiences and my observations, what are some distinguishing qualities or characteristics of a bookworm? So you'll see that I listed them all there in the blue writing. And then underneath there, I started to think about examples or people who demonstrate this idea of a bookworm. So I wrote down those examples as well, and this is all my pre-writing. So please pause the screen and just review the notes that I was taking about my own concept of bookworm, because in a few minutes I'm going to be asking you to do the same thing with your own term. And when you're ready, come on back to the workshop. Okay. So here is my final definition my final paragraph that defines a definition of a bookworm, according to me. So if you want to pause the screen and read the paragraph, to see if you can find the features of a definition paragraph. I'm hoping that I have categorized my term, that I've provided qualities and characteristics of a term, and that I've given you plenty of examples so that you better understand what I mean when I define bookworm. So pause the screen, review the paragraph, and see what you think. And then come on back to the workshop. Great, now it's your turn. So the first thing I'd like you to do is to focus on a term or concept that you want to define in a paragraph. And once you have that, then you want to try to categorize your concept or your term. So for example, you might be thinking, is it a specific person, a place, or a thing? Is it a state of mind, a mood, or a threat even? You can use one of these templates that I provided for you to get started, but only use one of the templates. Don't use both of them, or don't use them at all. They're there to help you if you'd like them. After you have categorized your concept, I want you to brainstorm all the qualities and characteristics that come to your mind when you are trying to define this term. So the questions on the screen might help you. What does it look like? How does it work or behave? How does it impact people or places or things or the environment? What is unique about this term? And how would someone recognize the term or concept you're defining? After you have defined some of the unique qualities and characteristics, think of 3 specific examples that you know of that would demonstrate your term that you're defining. So pause the screen and use it as a guide as you do some pre-writing to write your own definition paragraph in a couple of minutes. Great. Now you have your pre-writing done and you've spent some time thinking about your concept that you're defining. I'd like you to use the information that you see on this screen as a guide. As you are writing your final draft of your paragraph, use this step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4 as a way to guide you along as you write your paragraph. So pause the screen and create a first draft of your paragraph. And as always, with any first draft, don't worry about spelling or grammar as much. Just really focus on getting your ideas down. You'll have time to revise your paragraph later. And when you're ready, come on back to the workshop. Super. So now you have a definition paragraph that's in the works. So now you want to try to finalize it. So you want to make sure you have the elements of a paragraph that you need to have. You want to be sure you have a topic sentence, supporting sentences, and a closing sentence. And you also want to make sure you take some time to edit your final paragraph before you turn it in to your instructor. So pause the screen and use these questions here as a way to double check your paragraph before you call it a final draft. And when you're all done double checking your paragraph, congratulate yourself. You just created a paragraph using a definition. Great job.